Welcome to Women Talking Soccer. I'm your host, Carrie Taylor. The goal of this podcast is to amplify the voices of all women who love the beautiful game. Whether you're on the field, cheering from the stands, work in the business, want to be in the business, or are a passionate change maker, your voice is important. This podcast is presented by Women in Soccer. Women in Soccer is a network of women and allies involved in our favorite sport. You can join Women in Soccer for free online at womeninsoccer.org. And thank you for joining us at Women Talking Soccer. Today, we are here with a woman who needs no introduction. Brandi Chastain is joining us today. Brandi, how you doing today?
I am fantastic considering all the circumstances swirling around all of us. I think, taking pause every now and again has given me a chance to say, like, it feels a little crazy, but we've got this.
Yes.
At least that's what I'm telling myself.
Exactly. And, for your episode will be on the show, the very first one of 2021. So,
oh, yes.
So you get to start off the new year right. And we're just going to jump into you and different things that our listeners want to know, and
okay,
just going to kind of pick your brain about your wish list for women's soccer and all that jazz. So
sounds great.
All right. So I mean, to summarize your background, I was on your Wikipedia page, and there's so much that I think that people might know about you. I mean, obviously the sports bra moment, but it's definitely more than the sports bra. I believe you were like one of the first players to actually go overseas and play in Japan. And you also played in the first two iterations of the Women's Professional League. So besides the World Cup, besides the Olympics, there's a lot of you were involved in a lot of firsts in your life. Can you just kind of maybe share with the listeners a story or something that you don't often talk about? Because I think a lot of times people ask you about
Sure.
the 99 penalty kick. Is there something that you'd like to share beyond that?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think you have to go back a long time ago. This is like folklore, and talk about what women's soccer was like, and what the opportunities were for young women who were college graduates.
Mm-hmm.
And I was talking to some recruits over the last couple of days for Santa Clara women's soccer, where my husband coaches, and I was talking about how it was either making the women's national team or nothing.
Mm-hmm.
There was nothing in between your college career and that big, huge leap. And so I think just, looking at the landscape and looking at what the opportunities were, it's obviously a chasm of difference. And so the opportunities were stay here and participate in a team that I had been playing on I played for 20 years at Sacramento Storm,
Mm-hmm.
which was awesome. I played with actually some of the best players in the world came through Sacramento. And or go and have an experience and continue playing soccer at a high level in a different culture, in a different environment. And I feel like I've always been kind of that risk taker,
Mm-hmm.
and kind of like, let's see how it goes. And so I decided to go to Japan. And my position on the national team at the time was, I guess I would say, a little bit um, not solid.
Mm-hmm.
I would say it was, we were, I wasn't a starting player, and I get very, very limited time. I was playing behind, obviously, some of the best forwards in the world: Karen Gabera,
Mm-hmm.
Michelle Akers, April Heinrich, and Prince, who was the coach at the time, didn't quite value my decision and kind of questioned why I would do that. And I said, well, I'm not really playing on the national team at the time, so what
Why
does it
not?
matter to you? And yeah, why wouldn't I do that? And it turned out to be, I think, one of the greatest decisions of my life. Of all the decisions I've made and had the opportunity to make, I love the culture. The place was phenomenal. Learning, how to handle yourself in a new environment, and you don't know the language, getting around on the train. Like, I loved it. I loved it all, and I wouldn't change it for the world.
Yeah, and that's, nowadays there's been some questions to the women who have chosen to go overseas versus playing in the NWSL. What are your thoughts on, the national team players trying their hand in England or in France? And what team would you play for if you could go over there today?
Yeah. Wow, that would be well, first and foremost, I think I'm going to say life is too. Right? Nobody should be pointing fingers at anybody of the decisions that they're making in their careers. I think every single player on the women's national team, and if you polled the national teams around the world, I would believe that the consensus would be that they all want their domestic leagues to be successful.
Hmm.
I wouldn't say that there would be someone to say like, "Oh, I really hope it fails." Like that's not. And by choosing to go overseas, that's not saying I'm not in for this league to be successful. I think players have to have these balanced experiences. And so I really think that having that worldly experience is really, it makes you better. It makes you value things when you come home more. I honestly believe it makes you a more well-rounded person. And I think it allows you to bring something back that maybe didn't exist to your domestic team when the time is right. So I'm a believer in the experience. And I think we talk about men's versus women's soccer a lot here in this country, and I get asked that question a lot. Like,
Sure.
you know, our league here is not as good as the league over there on the men's side, so they should go, right?
Hmm.
And then it's like, well, wait, well, shouldn't they stay if they're our best players? But no, we want them to have this full experience, and we want our national teams to be better. And so that's a great opportunity for them personally, but also for our national team. So I think it's a mutually beneficial experience for the player and our programs to educate our players in different cultures and different ways to play the game.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree with that. I mean, to me, it only grows the game for everyone,
Yeah.
for the English level, for the level in France and, Norway, wherever it may
Well,
be.
yeah, and it's sad news to hear that the team in Sweden
Yeah.
is folding. Like, that's perplexing to me when, you have a team that's been so successful. And again, I think that's another league that prior to France and Germany and England having, the big teams supporting women's soccer,
Hmm.
Sweden was a place to go.
Yep.
Christine Lilly, Kate Markgraf. I know, there's a handful of women who went over to Sweden and played
Hmm.
again as a way, like I did Japan, to continue their careers. So I hope that this is a temporary situation, much like what's swirling around us right now, and that we find the solutions so that we can have more normalcy and bring it back into the fold.
Yeah, no, I agree. I heard there might be an owner that's interested in swooping in, so I
Oh,
hope that
nice.
rumor is true.
I
So,
hope so too, and I hope she hurries up and does it.
exactly. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. So let's talk about, like, I know are you working on your coaching license, your
Yeah.
a pro license? And
Senior A. Yeah.
what are you looking to do with that? What are Brandy's goals in coaching for the next 5 years? Or ownership or front
Uh,
office or whatever the case may be.
yeah. I think first and foremost is just to be more educated, right? To expand my own personal understanding of the game and how I go about looking at it, and am I actually looking at it in a way that's beneficial to the way I coach my young players at the youth level or at the high school boys level
Mhm.
and the collegiate women's level. Well, I think beyond that, I just love I love soccer so much. I always have, and I think I was a natural born um, coach, or maybe I was just born bossy. I think,
There's
uh,
nothing wrong with being bossy.
beyond my little nonprofit that I started with Julie Foudy and Marlene Bjornsrud, which we named the Bay Area Women's Sports Initiative, which is pronounced bossy.
Mhm.
That was like, I think I just, I grew up believing um, in sharing the game and talking about it, and whether that was on the field or off the field. And so I think educating myself, being able to understand and see a season in its entirety, and being able to then break it down into its parts, and how
Mhm.
do we manage those parts, and what are I think having differing opinions about what are the most important things that need to happen is also interesting. Um, we've been in the class not for very long, and trying to get people to talk about soccer on a regular basis sometimes feels a little hard. And
Mhm.
I'm like, okay, who's ready for a conversation about soccer?
Right.
Oh, can we do it next week, or can we do it, in the new year? And I'm like, okay, but how about today? So I think my ambition has always been to work with the national teams.
Mhm.
One, because I feel like I've just been given a gift of the experience of playing on the national team, and the knowledge of professional soccer, but also kind of from a perspective of understanding what it was like not to have those things.
Mhm.
And so I feel that's something that I want to make sure that our players understand, that it didn't always exist and it wasn't always like this. And
Yeah.
so, when what's the value of that? I think that's really critical.
Yeah.
Um, and I think those are the lessons that I'm really going to age myself right now. Those are the lessons that our grandparents give us, right?
Right.
Like, I feel like I'm I'm going to give this to these young players, so that when they become the mentors of young players, they too
Mhm.
can share, hey, women's soccer wasn't always like this, and this is what was happening when I was younger, and this is where it came from. And I think that's valuable. So I want to work with these young players, and hopefully one day with the women's national team. I love looking at the small details of the game. I love looking at the technical side of each player and each touch, and why each, you know, I always say to my players, each touch tells a story, right?
Mhm.
It gives information. It tells the next person the potential for where the ball could go, or where it can't go, or what you should do and how you should move. And so kind of, trying to get the players that I have the ability to influence to think beyond the one touch at a time,
Right.
uh, is fun for me.
Yeah. Well, that's
And
ex
then to be
that's
and then to be
exciting.
honest with you, is just dominating the hell out of the other team. Like,
There you go.
honestly, I just want to kick the crap out of everybody. So I mean, if I knock you down in a competitive battle, I'm going to help you up. It's interesting. I was watching EPL as I do every week, and one of the commentators said two guys came together and they knocked, one guy was a little bit more aggressive than the other, and he knocked the guy over, and then he reached out his hand to help him up, and he's like, "What are you doing helping him up?" And I'm like, that that would
It's
be the
what you
most.
do.
Well, it's what you do. I think, yes, I think there's a part of it that's what you do, because that's, part of humanity. That's what you do. But I also think that part of the competitiveness that goes along with that is like, I'm going to knock you down, and I'm going to pick you up, and then I'm going to knock you down again, because, that's the spirit of the game, right? I'm going to
Yeah.
make it as hard for you as I possibly can. And when you do that back to me, like, the level just keeps going up. And so it's, I feel, and I've always felt that every time we played a team, whether it be Brazil or China or Sweden or Germany, whomever it was, give me your best,
Mhm.
right? I want your best, because I need that challenge of figuring out those small little moments where I feel like, holy crap, this pressure is way too much. How am I going to solve the problem?
Right.
Um, so that's a part of, my why I'm taking this course and why I want to be involved in, the development of our young players.
Yeah. No, thank you for sharing all that. And you touched on something that I feel is super important. Y- the word pioneers is thrown around, and you mentioned the appreciation of players of today, not necessarily knowing the history of what you and other players lived. And I just want to say thank you. I'm in my late 40s, and I followed the struggle. I followed you guys. I had the opportunity to play for Linda Hamilton and Debbie Belkin, and like, back when there weren't
Mm.
week long, a month long training camps, and you as players had to train on your own, and you didn't have the amenities, and you were getting $15 a day per diem, and those stories and those things are important that people of today know and appreciate. So when you mentioned like the grandma passes those things down, like that really resonated with me, because I understand that and appreciate that. So from people in my sphere, and I just want to say thank you for enduring that, so that we can have soccer for women where it's at now, and it can only continue to grow and expand and get better. So thank you.
Well, thank you. Um, you know, uh, Honestly, we were as happy as pigs in a sty. We had an opportunity to play soccer, and yeah, there was some things that obviously we thought, hey, this is probably not really right or the best it could be, but I honestly believe that there is quite a balance between the appreciation you have to have for just the opportunity, and then the value of that opportunity and how we can then make it better, right? So
Hmm.
you don't want to get so out of whack that um, it's you get everything you want when you want it,
Hmm.
and then you don't value what it is, or you don't have anything. And I think our group was learning how to balance the ship, right, and make it kind of this smoother sailing, but for everybody and into the
Hmm.
future. And
Yeah.
that really was a part of what the leadership of U.S. Soccer players, the Julie Foudy's, Carla Overbeck, April Heinrichs, Michelle Akers, what they really brought to the table, and what was needed for sure. But we loved being together and we loved playing, and that was the highlight of our lives.
Yeah. Yeah. So you just mentioned US soccer briefly. Would you ever consider running for leadership within US soccer? I heard they might need a vice president.
uh, to I love being on the field.
Okay.
I found that through this pandemic, um, being outside and being with the players is probably more my comfort zone and my passion, and maybe what fills my bucket.
Hmm.
I am very happy to lend my ear or you know give my opinion, but I'm not sure that that's where I am right now. Maybe when I get older, Carrie. Maybe when I'm
When
older.
when you're done coaching the national team.
Maybe when I'm older.
Yeah. Well,
In
we
my maybe in my retiring years, when
there
I
you
have more
go.
time.
Yeah, there you go. So you mentioned the nonprofit that you founded. What are some of the other nonprofits or things you're involved in, kind of off the field, that you can share with the listeners?
Oh gosh, you know what? There's so many things that come into my life that I don't see
Hmm.
coming, and this is why, again, everything for me goes back to soccer, and this is why I feel like I've kept soccer in my life, because I use it as a tool to stay ready. Right? You never know when somebody's going to come around the corner and say, "Here's an opportunity." No, I've taken a full-time position. I
Mhm.
got a job during this whole pandemic, right? This is a crazy situation. I didn't see it coming, and excuse me, I had a gentleman approach me who actually went to Santa Clara University with, and we had mutual friends, and I happened to coach his son in high school soccer.
Okay.
And he came to me and said, "Hey, I have a job for you." And I was like, I didn't know I was looking for a job.
You're like, "What
I
is
didn't know.
it? Tell me
Yeah,
more."
I didn't know that I needed more on my plate. And so he told me about it, and it's a tech startup here in Silicon Valley that was born out of a marketing, um, advertising company that he started a long time ago when we were in college, and he made into a great business. And it's just kind of morphed from where it was then, which was without technology, without smartphones, without the internet,
Mhm.
to all of a sudden being in this virtual world, and us, doing a lot of our business via our phones. Like, I'm talking to you via my
Mhm.
phone right now.
Mhm.
And so City Cheers is basically a consumer facing um, mobile app,
Mhm.
which you can connect to your favorite restaurants and bars. You can pay via your phone. You
Mhm.
don't have to wait for a receipt anymore from your server. You can leave anytime you want.
Hmm.
You can check in. You can scroll through the places where you are. Let's say when we get back to our normal time. Unfortunately, we rolled out right as COVID hit, so it's a
Mhm.
little bit. We're working as like everybody else is working in these times, to be flexible and agile, and help these locations and restaurants. I'm a big believer in restaurants. I think they're vital to the health and wellness of communities.
Mhm.
It's where we celebrate. It's where we go to watch soccer matches. It's where
Absolutely.
we go to celebrate birthdays and graduations. And so they're really vital to communities. And so I believe City Cheers has an opportunity to help the restaurant and bar industry by making things more efficient, less transactional, and more about hospitality, and
Mhm.
more about connecting one on one with the things that you like, and being able to find them. So if I don't know where you are, Carrie, right now.
San Diego.
Okay, so you're in San Diego and I'm in San Jose, and let's say I came to visit you, and I'm like, I wonder where we should eat. And I open City Cheers, and then I roll through the places in San Diego.
Mhm.
Hey, here's a place that I can use my City Cheers app. Let's go there. So it's a way to connect, create a network. We're an agnostic app, which means that if you had an app for one location, let's say Chipotle, which
Mhm.
they have a great app for their locations, but it doesn't cross into other places. It
Right.
only does their location. So for us, we work with anybody who has different points of sale, and we bring them all together.
Mhm.
And so I think honestly, it's where the space is going, because everybody in the 21 to 35 to 40 age range does the majority of their work, uh, their calendars on their phone.
Yep,
And so
I've seen
now,
that.
just like we do with Uber, if you remember your first experience of, well, that was really weird. You got into a car, you put in the information, you got into a car, you got to
Mhm.
your location, you got out, you didn't even have to take out your credit card or get a receipt, and it was really simple.
Yep.
And now you don't even think about it. You use it so easily. And that's basically what we do in the bar and restaurant space. So that's really my main focus right now, beyond the
Mhm.
100 other things that I have. Is That's my full-time job, is connecting with restaurants. So if you know any restaurant owners or
Okay.
bar owners, or anybody out there who does,
I do.
connect with me. I
Yeah.
would love to get them on my network.
Yeah.
Awesome.
No, that's amazing. I'm gonna check out the app and I'll connect with you offline. And yeah, that's it sounds
Thank you.
really interesting and different. And I liked what you said about staying ready because you're right. You never know what comes across your
Yeah.
plate. And you have to be like, okay,
Yeah,
yeah,
you never do.
I'll say yes to that.
The reason I took the position mostly was, in the back of my head, I could hear myself telling my players, you have to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. You have to go into an opportunity knowing, okay, you're not perfect. Nobody is. Okay, let it go. We're already gonna, let's get beyond that. But also, what happens if you did take that risk? What happens if you did meet that opportunity and say, I'll give it a try? Great things could happen,
Mhm.
right? And if it doesn't turn out to be the thing that is your favorite, or maybe turn out the way you want it to, at least you've learned something along the way. You've
Mhm.
improved yourself in some capacity, whether that's in a physical, technical way, or it's in a technical, emotional, thoughtful way.
Mhm.
So there's always something to be gained. And so because I kept saying that to my players, I had to take my own advice
Yeah.
and
It's like,
give it a try.
no, that's great. Put your money where your mouth is, so to
Amen.
speak.
Amen.
So can you talk about your involvement with the women in soccer group? I hear you're doing something, monthly
Yes.
maybe?
Yes. I love these gals. You know what I love about the women in soccer group? And there's more than these three women, Courtney and Maria and Rachel. Oh, there's obviously there's supporters and allies of those three ladies. But what I love about these ladies, and why I think right from the get-go, I was like, what do you need? I'm ready to help you, because their passion was so evident, and
Mhm.
their desire for people like you and I, Carrie, to find a platform where we could talk about the game, but we could also share some more about ourselves, and we could find ways that we could help each other, support each other, laugh with each other. Maybe it has nothing to do with soccer, but I think of something that would, hey, Carrie, I have this person I want you to meet. I think
Mhm.
that would be a really great connection for you. And so there wasn't anything like that. And with soccer as the center core, and since that's, something that's always been so important for me and so exciting,
Mhm.
I just couldn't help but say yes to their enthusiasm and their desire. And they had done a tremendous amount of road work prior to me coming in. And I take zero credit for everything that exists. I'm grateful that they want to space to talk about women's soccer, and to share some ideas. And really, it's not going to be me telling people what to do or what to think or
Mhm.
where they should go. What It's going to be more maybe about a concept, and then where can we take that concept, and
Yeah.
how can we all learn from each other. So it will be really collaborative, and I hope um, entertaining at the same time, and we'll have some laughs. I mean, I'm bound to do something silly, so it always happens. And I'm really good at laughing at myself. I've come to that conclusion that you got to laugh at yourself. So, I just hope that it's a place where people can come and feel they may take home a gem,
Mhm.
or it's a good way to spend 30 or 45 or an hour, just maybe just decompressing.
Yeah.
Whatever it is you need, you can come to Brandy's Corner, and we're gonna talk it out,
Yeah. No,
or
it
laugh it out, or drink it out, for
all
God's
of
sakes. Who
it.
knows?
All of it. All of it. Yeah. No, we're super excited to have you on board, and Courtney and Maria and Rachel and the crew are amazing. Um and it's the thing that I appreciate the most, that it's just not about coaching. It's about whether you're a fan, whether you just like soccer, whether you play pickup, like it's
Yeah,
just a really good safe space for all women and allies to just connect,
yeah,
because so often people are doing great things, but often in their silos, and they don't necessarily connect and feel that community. So that's
yeah.
part of why I said yes to all of them as well, is like we just need everyone knowing and amplifying each other.
Right on.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for recognizing that.
Yeah.
And I guess, and then maybe what we'll end up being in, maybe in the spaces that you and I will be, is kind of the gentle nudge for someone to say, okay, I'm going to give it a try,
Yeah.
or I'm going to be brave enough to speak up in that moment, or yeah, I can be a mentor to somebody. Um, I love that. I've been gently nudged many times in my life. So I feel like that it's time to kind of
Yeah.
do that for other people too.
Yeah. No, that's great. So when is Brandy's Corner launching? Do you have a start date on that at all? January?
We are, yes, I believe, I think I have it. I think it's January 13th.
Awesome. Can't
January
wait.
13th is our date, I believe.
Can't wait.
Yes. And we're going to start off with something really fun. We're going to learn about ourselves.
Okay.
Uh, Becky Burley will be coming on. She's
Great.
the
Yeah.
long-standing coach at University of Florida. And we're going to talk about who we are and how we approach communication. And we are asking anybody who wants to come. It's not mandatory, so don't get all stressed out about it. Take a look at the disc that
Oh,
has
okay.
been put on the website. That way it would give you just a little bit more insight into the conversation.
Okay.
And you don't have to do it if you don't have the time. It's okay. You'll still benefit from the conversation. Um, but this one is actually going to be really good for me too, because I think as a coach and now as somebody who's working in this space where I'm communicating with people who are outside of soccer, I need to be mindful about my approach and listening and really hearing what it is that they need, and then how do I fulfill that thing. So it's going to be as beneficial for me as it will be hopefully for everybody else.
Well, that sounds great. I'm definitely going to tune in, and for those listeners that haven't signed up for Women in Soccer, I'm going to give a shameless plug. It's
Yes, yes.
womeninsoccer.org. It's not just for women. Male allies can apply, but you have to be approved by some of us to vet you because we want to keep it a safe space. But together, we just want to grow the game and amplify voices for all women. So I'm looking forward to Brandy's Corner for sure. And Becky's been a voice in the game for a long time, and I
Yeah,
always enjoy hearing her speak as well. So as we start to
awesome.
wrap up a
Should be
little,
fun.
yeah, it'll be great. So I don't want to keep you too long, but as we start to wrap up, a couple questions. I always ask people if they
Okay.
have a favorite quote and if they can recommend some good books. And I'm putting you on the spot
Oh
for
God.
for that one. And
Well,
then
I want every. Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
no, and I was just gonna say, and lastly, like advice to people in the game. So those are kind of the three closing questions.
Oh, I have so many books around me all the time, and I feel like I'm constantly opening them, looking for some kind of inspiration. And I'm actually cleaning things up right now. I I have something right now I'm going to share with you,
Awesome.
and this is a quote from a gentleman who is an artist. He loves soccer,
Hmm.
and he happens to be the brother of a neighbor of mine.
Okay.
And I wasn't looking for inspiration, kind of like this be ready thing, right? I wasn't looking for inspiration, and the piece of art speaks to me probably differently than it speaks to everybody who looks at it. But on this little canvas, you can see it's a little canvas, it says, "No one on earth can do what you do precisely the way you do it."
Hmm.
And when I see that, I think that's so valuable because as a mother,
Hmm.
now I'm talking from my mom hat, I'm trying to get my son to clean his room or to do his homework and I look at this and I think, Brandy, he is his own person.
Hmm.
You have to allow him the opportunity to be his own person. And so I like this quote because soccer specifically brings puzzles together, and we have to be able to find ways to make those puzzle pieces connect.
Hmm.
Sometimes you have to turn the. So this quote speaks to me, and I have this here near my desk. It reminds me personally that I do things different sometimes, and I have to do things different sometimes, and be okay with doing things different sometimes. Likewise, for the people that are in front of me, whether those are my players or my son, that they also do
Mhm.
things the way they do things, and that they are unique individuals. And so that's very important, that we be able to keep our unique qualities and our quirky
Mhm.
qualities. And those are really important for the success of all of us. And so today, I think
I
that's going to be my quote today.
I like that one. That's good. It's a good reminder for sure.
Yeah.
Any
Books.
books? Yeah, any books
Uh,
you've read during the pandemic?
there are so many, so many. Cast is one. I would
Okay. Cast.
uh, Cast.
Yep.
The Moment of Lift.
Okay.
That's Melinda Gates. I've been reading soccer books. I'm a Man City fan,
Okay.
and you know, and Pep Guardiola. I think I'm interested in the way he coaches and
Mhm.
I think his passion for the game and his players. So I've kind of been perusing his book.
Mhm.
Not a sit down, finish it to the end kind of thing, but kind of
Right.
go to it every now and again. I've been reading some businessy books. um, the concept of the corporation, just how do how do big organizations function?
Mhm.
Not as sexy and as awesome. And my final is, Maria Murnan is my favorite
Yep.
um, author. She writes these awesome romantic comedies that make me just laugh. And when I'm reading them, because I know Maria, I'm like, oh my God, Maria, did you do that? Or was that really like, or
Yeah,
did,
is that a true story that you've
yeah,
weaved in
yeah.
there?
Is that nonfiction or is that fiction? Um, so, you have to have that kind of fun and, lighthearted reading too. So,
For sure.
yeah, those are some of the ones.
Oh, well, thank you for sharing those. I wrote a couple of those down.
Perfect.
And I guess finally, any like overarching advice that you have in 2021 or things that you would like to see happen in 2021 for all of our listeners out there?
Well, I think as humanity goes, this doesn't just apply to soccer. I think I'm a glasses half full kind of gal, and 2020 has been crazy challenging
Mm-hmm.
in so many ways. No, and I can't honestly attempt to pretend what it's like to be in the shoes of restaurant owners or small business owners at this time. But what I'm hoping we all achieve is a higher level of compassion,
Mm-hmm.
thoughtfulness, the way we move around the world. We influence each other. I just joined a board of a oh gosh, I just went blank on it. It's a friend of mine's daughter is in oceanography,
Okay.
and she is in process of learning how to develop like a man-made coral reef
Hmm.
for the health of the ocean.
Right.
And he's like, "Hey, would you be on the board of this group that company she has?" And I'm like, "What the hell do I know about that?
Mm-hmm.
Like, why would I be valuable there?" And I started thinking about, what does the ocean mean to me?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking, well, I'm going to assume that the ocean really impacts the earth as a whole and the land. And if the coral reef isn't healthy, then, those ecosystems start to break down. And then how does it really work its way onto land? And so I was like, you know what? This is, again, be ready. You never
Right.
know when someone's going to ask you to do something well outside of your comfort zone.
Right.
Um, and so I thought, you know what? I'm going to learn something here. So I'm going to bring my land loving perspective to this environment that I don't really know that much about, but I'm hoping that I can help influence in a positive way. So I think 2020 has changed and shifted the paradigm of what we thought normal
Mm-hmm.
was, and now we're starting to have to evaluate what normal could and should and will look like in the future. So I would say to everybody, my advice is embrace the opportunity for change.
Mm-hmm.
And just because something looks or feels a little different doesn't mean it's bad. Having played forward my entire career and then having Tony DeChico say, You're not going to play that position anymore. You're going to play left back.
You're
Could
like,
have
okay,
it.
let's go.
Well, the choices were no.
Right.
This is what I do and who I am, and
Mhm.
I'm sticking to that and being too proud. Or you're on the team and you're getting a chance. I mean, I'll take that every time.
Mhm.
So I think that's what I would say is my own advice to myself that I'm going to share with you.
Yeah. Well, that's great. Well, Brandi, thank you so very much for your time. And, again, happy to have you involved with women in soccer. And you've been such a leader and for women in the game, not only women but boys. Coaching high school boys, that's
Yeah,
awesome. And I've had those experiences as well. And I think more women need to dabble in coaching boys because we can be role models as coaches for more than
yeah.
just girls, and that's super important. But
No doubt about that.
yeah,
You've just inspired me to do something, Carrie, which
what's that?
I'm sure you didn't intend, but you're rocking a retro U.S. Soccer
I know.
logo on your hat, and I'm thinking, for these Brandy's Corner, maybe I should rock some old school U.S. Soccer
Do it.
or uniforms or something.
Do it.
Um, yeah,
This is
bring
my
back some.
this is my inner subtle fangirl. So
I love it. I noticed it, Carrie. I'm just
okay.
telling you, I see you.
Well,
It's
thank you for
awesome.
noticing.
Yeah.
Brandi, it's been awesome. I can't wait to, see what the future holds with the women in soccer thing and actually getting to know you better and seeing your impact on other women in the game. So again, thank you for your time. Really appreciate it and good luck with all of the things that you're doing. It definitely sounds like you have your hands in a million things, and that's fantastic because that means you're making a million imprints and impacts on people. So thanks again for your time, Brandi, and having you on. I really appreciate it.
Well, it's been my pleasure. And come on, 2021, let's do this.
Exactly, exactly. Because you're ready and we're ready and
Yes.
let's do it. All right.
Yes, exactly.
Thank you.